Hi there, I'm Andrew. Welcome to Adventure Rider for a look at the Scott Dualraid Dryo Trousers and Jacket set. This is a cracking item from a fantastic brand that are fairly new as far as UK adventure clothing goes, but from a brand that have been doing it for many years across lots of disciplines, and I'm sure you've heard of them. So here is one of their best offerings for 2024. So the Dualraid is the second one down in terms of price point from the Priority, which is their pinnacle from their collection. And this one comes at waterproofing in a slightly different way. So the other ones in the range are largely laminated waterproof membranes, which means the waterproof membrane is bonded to the outer layer, preventing water from penetrating and keeping you dry, which is a great way to do it. But the downside to that versus a layered approach, which is what we get in the Dualraid Dryo, means that you always have a waterproof membrane in your jacket, whether or not it's raining. So when it's really hot and you want as much airflow as possible, however good the breathability element of your membrane might be, even from the likes of Gore-Tex, it severely impedes the airflow either way, and therefore it's not optimal. So if it's not raining, as it's not a lot of the time, you would rather not have a waterproof breathable membrane fixed. And in this one, you have a completely independent underlayer, which you can take out of the jacket, freeing up loads of airflow. So this is a layered approach. We're going to do another video on layers versus laminates, which is kind of geeky. There's loads of detail to go into about who might want which one in what conditions and why. But at the end of the day, there is no overtly right or wrong answer. There are two different approaches to it. And when it comes to a layered approach, this does it just about as well as anything I've seen in a jacket. I think it looks absolutely stunning. This was actually the garment that sort of captured our eye from across the festival at the ABR last June. And it was the reason we came over and started chatting to Scott, completely unaware that they had this amazing adventure collection, but people in the UK haven't really been presented it before. So we wanted to work with them to do that for you guys in 2024. And they do have such a stunning range. So you can check out the other videos for all the wonderful options in their range. But this one is very much premium in terms of its approach to the layering system, but everything about it comes in at a really competitive price point. So this one comes in at $525 for the jacket and $400 for the trousers. And when you consider that with that, you get a removable 3L laminate membrane. It's Scott's own in-house membrane. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that, but Fort9, one of the biggest YouTube channels out there in the motorcycle scene, did a fantastic video a few back on Gore-Tex and basically said that it is not the be-all and end-all that people seem to think it to be. And in fact, there are some membranes out there that actually outperform even Gore-Tex's own membrane when it comes to waterproofing and breathability. There were two that did. One of them was Scott's membrane, and that is exactly what you get here. So you get a really good degree of both elements, waterproofing and breathability here, in something that you can completely extract from the jacket and do away with. And if you do, you can fold it up, you can keep it in one of the pockets, and you can have a jacket that is much more optimized when it comes to warm weather riding, or when you're doing riding where you're exerting yourself, you're moving around a lot, you're building up a sweat, and you need to be getting as much airflow through the jacket as possible. With the best will in the world, the best laminated membranes are not going to be able to compete with the comfort factor of not having a waterproof membrane fixed inside the jacket. So when it comes to the Dualraid Dryo, it's a really good looking bit of kit. It's got these leather panels on it, which I think give it a really nice and slightly unusual appearance in the adventure spectrum. A lot of stuff is just hardcore textile. This one I think gives a nice sort of softer balance to it, a little bit more distinguished. We really love it, and that sort of extends on the shoulders and elbows and this contrasting leather panels. Also on the logo, which I think looks really smart. The logos aren't too crazy on most of Scott's stuff, which I also quite like, but everything about them, all the sort of little details that make a jacket really nice to wear every day are considered so well. So we'll go top to toe in a minute. Before we go on, just to say also it's a AA rated jacket, as pretty much everything in their range of the, well, certainly in their adventure collection is AA rated, which is a very good position to be at. That's slightly better than what you find, I say, on average. A lot of adventure stuff manufacturers just put through as A rated for CE approval for impact and abrasion resistance. So these have all passed AA. AAA tends to be rarer because it requires a lot more compromise in terms of flexibility and comfort. So AA is definitely, I would say, a good sweet spot if you can get a AA jacket that doesn't feel overly cumbersome, which is definitely the case with any of the Scott range. They all feel really soft and supple, very easy to wear, very ergonomic. So if you're someone who's just sat on a bike touring, or if you're someone who's really working hard and going off on those trails, either way, these jackets are very well made to do the best of both. Sizing on the jacket is pretty true to the size guide. So Scott have one size guide that they say is universal across all their jackets. Now it could just be me, but I did find that I was going for a medium in some and a large in others. But then again, I'm borderline if you look at their size guide. Being someone with a 40.5 to 41 inch chest, that is pretty much their cutoff between M and L. So it's therefore inevitable that in some I'm going to prefer one or the other. In the priority, for example, I prefer a medium. This one in the Dualraid, I'm very, very much on the border as someone with a 41 inch chest. I could go with medium or large, to be fair. So I think it slightly depends whether this is something you're going to want to wear in winter months primarily, perhaps with an extra insulation layer over even above the one that comes included with the jacket. Then you may want to size up, but if you know you're not going to do that and you're mainly going to be using it for warmer weather riding, if you're a fair weather rider and you're borderline like me, you can probably go size down. So pretty true to size, but they're certainly not small sizing. So you don't need to worry about needing to size up when it comes to Scott. That's what we found so far. So going through the features top to bottom, leather paneling just around the top of this neck area. A real bugbear of mine is having big chunky neck storm flaps that just scratch away at your neck and your chin and irritate you on a long ride. There's none of that. This is really well tailored and considered. You can get it up nice and tight without sacrificing on that comfort. There's a little piece here that you can pull this part back with. There's also a magnet here which is going to help keep that flap in place. So when you're going along, if you want to do it up or undo it, it helps you orient that button, which you can put into one of two different positions on the neck so you can have it as you like it. All of the snaps that we find on the main section, with the exception of these ones really high up here, are all rubberized with the Scott branding on them. So again, a good little detail there, so you don't have to worry about scratching on your tank or anything like that. Everything is really well thought through in that respect. We've got these really easy to use magnetized chest flaps either side, which mirror each other. One finger, nice and easy, and then you get through to the jacket underneath, direct airflow, and obviously as we go back to the points we made about the waterproof liner, which we'll see in a minute, if you take that out, this is going to go straight through to you, and that's obviously going to provide quite a lot of ventilation. Similarly on the venting front, these massive zips all the way down either sleeve, which open up, and that's actually one of the best places to get airflow coming in. A lot of the time people put the zip in the wrong place, they put it on the underside right here, which you don't really notice as much, but when you have it there, it's perfectly placed. You've got a sort of double way zip, so you could have that however you want, and you can get as much or as little airflow going through there as possible. Rubberized overlays, which are really easy to grip onto, even with gloves. Again, Velcro at the bottom and snaps at the top with that rubberized thing. Easy little pull systems, but nothing over the top, nothing too big, nothing that's going to flap around and annoy you on a ride. You also can, I forgot to say, sorry, pinch that back onto this piece here quite easily. It's all very easy to orient with gloves on without being able to see it with your helmet as you go along as well. So the zip itself has a sort of partial overlay flap there, and then it's sort of slightly smaller down here just to give it a bit of detailing, slightly offset in that respect. There's a pocket underneath which does have a liner to it, which I couldn't get confirmation. I believe is a waterproof lined pocket, but we wouldn't recommend on a jacket like this that's not laminated to risk it. If you've got anything really valuable, you can put stuff underneath on the very inner liner, which we'll show you in a moment, if you want to keep them really safe, like your phone and so on. There's pockets on the side here, the body pockets, which are great. So a pillion can put the hands there. You can put your hands there when you're off the bike. And I always really like that because it feels weird walking around with your hands in your pockets like this. You look a bit sinister. But that's always a very comfortable option. And again, it just shows that sort of attention to detail that Scott always do. On the side, you can see you've got accordion stretch panels, which mean that this is going to hug you nicely. It's going to be fitted. Nothing's too constrictive, but at the same time, I don't like the jackets when it comes to adventure that are boxy and loose, because I want my jacket still to be as fitted as possible. I don't want it flapping around in the wind. I don't want to look like a Michelin man. I want it to look still tailored, but I also want it to be comfortable and I don't want it to constrict me. And this jacket does a really good job of trying to tread that line in between comfort and tailoring and all the rest. As you go around the back, it's already been done there. You notice there's this overlay flap as well, which is going to give more ventilation to the back area. So that's going to work partly as an exit vent, and then running either side of that, you will also see you've got a large vent too, so you can get quite a lot of airflow going through there. There's actually a pouch here, so this is a good place to have a bladder if you wanted to have a hydration pack without going down the route of having a backpack. Hydration pack goes in there, and then there's actually internal routing through the jacket, which has, I forgot to show you, I'll show you in a second, on the front, a little exit point there as well. So something that I don't see too often. Most people obviously would just expect to have it in a backpack, but if you don't want a backpack, if you don't want the extra weight of a bag containing the hydration pack when you don't need one, then you can fit it all in here quite neatly. Little poacher pouch at the bottom, which is a good place to put that waterproof lining I mentioned if you want to take it off and go along. That's ideal storage so that you don't lose it. You can just keep it along with the jacket. I really like the lines, I really like the detailing. There's a few areas of high vis which work really well because they don't look obviously high vis, but then when obviously a car light or something is hitting it directly, it lights right up like you need it to. So going down into the jacket, these zips are always so easy to operate with the Scott jackets. I really love them. They're not too chunky, they're not stiff, they don't need lubing, they just work as they should. Napoleon pocket either side there, but then again, as I said already, this is sitting over the waterproof membrane, so probably not optimal for valuables. So here we are, this is the 3L removable waterproof liner, which has 2 zips either side, which are very easy to open and close if you want to get the liner in and out. There's no poppers, which I hate. They're always so fiddly to do. This is going to work really well. So this is a soft waterproof layer. It's 3L, so it is lined, so it's got that comfort element to it. And this works brilliantly as a windbreaker as well, so it gives you that extra degree of insulation on cold days. But then when you don't want that, you can take it out. This jacket does also have the fixed liner, the thermal liner element to it, which is incorporated in this waterproof layer as well. So the sort of assumption being that if you don't need one, you don't need the other, so you can take all of that out. So the Achilles heel of this jacket, it's pretty perfect at kind of hitting all the functionality points that you would want. The one downside to anything that's a layered system is that unless the waterproof layer is on the outside, when it does rain, this can get wet. Some jackets have a waterproof liner that you can wear under or over, and that isn't really the case with this one. I think you would very much struggle. It's not designed to go over the outer. But that said, Scott are the best when it comes to their waterproof outers, which we offer, which you can put over. If you really want to be absolutely sure of the outer not getting wet and use this as a backup windbreaker insulation layer, you can do that. So you've got lots of options. Just because it doesn't come included with everything, ultimately you can get whatever you want out of a layered system, whereas with a laminate system, you always have to compromise somewhere. So just to recap, this comes in at 525, the trousers at 400. The trousers mirror the functionality we see on the jacket, and they have the same really nice distinguished leather panels as well, which separate it, I think, stylistically from most of the items in the adventure collection from most brands. But so why would you go for this? As I said, if you want something that is more versatile and is a layered versus a laminate option, and you are planning on doing more hot riding in technical conditions where you're going to build up a sweat and you don't want to have a fixed waterproof liner that you can't take out, then this is absolutely brilliant. So in that sense, this is a more pure adventure jacket than some of the others, which might be labeled slightly more on the touring end of the spectrum. It's really for you to decide. There's no right or wrong here. As I said, we will do a follow-up video kind of explaining all that in more detail. But you will not be disappointed. Even if you aren't entirely sure and you just go for this based on the fact you like the look of it. It's a great jacket with tons of versatility, functionality, and these are in stock and available as of the beginning of 2024. So there will be more stuff coming from Scott in terms of video reviews. As I say, one of the standout brands for us in the scene, but one with surprisingly little coverage to date in the UK at least. And we really believe that they should be on everyone's radar. There's other brands as well, like Scott, who you maybe haven't heard so much about, that we'll be introducing through this channel. And there's also, of course, many brands you will be familiar with that we're working with too, who have some unbelievable gear for 2024. And then we're going to be doing lots of features outside the studio in the adventure world as well. So hopefully we will see you again for another video. And please do subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon. Goodbye.